Hello everyone at the conference. My name is Freitas. I'm a student from the Faculty of Sport of University of Porto in Portugal. I'm here to present this study called Different Metrics to Measure the Player's Load in a Handball Game. A brief introduction in handball: jumps, change of direction, feints, falls, impacts in general generate a load on the player's body that if it's excessive can generate some injuries. Researchers have tried to quantify this load internally, but it's very difficult to measure that, especially in a handball match. So they moved to an easier way, that is the external load metrics that are not so invasive on the player's body. And one of the main metrics that they use is the player load. And player load was a metric introduced by Catapult Sports, a company that has a system, a tracking device system that can quantify this metric through accelerations that are provoked and absorbed by the player's body. The player load, although it is very popular, not only in handball but in various sports, it has some limitations. One of them is there are different formulas implemented in various studies that use this same metric. This problem, this allows the authors to compare one study to another. Let's say I want to compare two different studies using the player load. I cannot do it unless I am sure they use the same formula. And this is problematic for systematic reviews and meta-analysis. The usage of arbitrary units inhibits the comparison of results from different metrics unless they are from the same study. Let's say I want to compare one study that uses player load and another study that uses a similar metric. The arbitrary units doesn't allow me to do this accurately. And also it doesn't account for axis rotation, meaning that when the players rotate, it doesn't do the due diligence to correct this rotation of the axis, and it generates some erroneous values. So our main objective is to analyze the differences between acceleration-derived metrics, player load is one of them, chosen for volume and intensity on an in-play context in handball. We used the Wimo Pro real track systems, tracking device system that has sensors that can record the accelerations in 3 axes on 100 points per second, and that has a local position system that is basically an indoor GPS to collect the coordinates of the players on 20 points per second. Our sample consists of 12 games from the Euro 2022 Men M20 Championship that occurred in Porto last year, 7 different national teams, and a total of 384 player samples for each half. So our procedure was we recorded the matches and exported the CSV values produced from the SPRO software of the Wimo system with the coordinates and accelerations, and then all the data was cleaned and treated and analyzed on Python. On Python, we introduced these two main formulas, the mean volume of jerk, that is basically the mean of the derivative of the acceleration, and the accumulated player load, that is the sum of the player load on each instant. We also applied 2 binary filters that allowed us to calculate only the metrics when the players are on the court and the game is occurring. So when the player is off court on the bench or the player is interrupted, like timeouts, injuries that stop the game, all that was taken out of the results. From these two main formulas, we have 5 metrics: two for the volume of load and 3 for the intensity of load. For the volume of load, we calculate the mean volume of jerk and the accumulated player load. For the intensity, we calculate the mean of top 25% values of jerk, the mean of top 10% values of jerk, and the player load per minute. And we compare them with each other for the volume and for the intensity. For the load volume, we compare the player load with the mean volume of jerk, and you can see that they are positively correlated, as expected, although it has a big variability, and we can see by the regression line and by the coefficient of determination, they are squared, that it's at best moderate for the first half and for the second half. For the load intensity, we have the player load per minute versus top 25% of jerk on the left, and we can see that they are positively correlated, but they have, if you noticed, a cone-shaped, meaning that for higher values the variability between the two of them, it's higher. The same occurs when we compare the player load per minute versus the top 10%. This meaning that for higher values there is some erroneous data, maybe, we don't know for sure. For the top 25% versus the top 10%, they are almost perfectly correlated, and this makes sense because the top 10% is a subset almost of the pool of samples from the top 25%, so it makes sense that they are perfectly correlated. And for this, we needed to do a further investigation. So we compared for every position for the first and second half. We did a paired samples test, a Wilcoxon rank test, and we see that they are statistically different. We can see that the top 10%, it's substantially higher, and notice the large effect size values. Almost all of them are above 2, most of them above 3, some above 4. Those are gigantic effect size values. Notice that the goalkeeper on the second half, it has an effect size below 1, and basically what this means is that this could suggest that the load is very intermittent, meaning that the top 10% values are much higher than the top 25%, and if we do the top 25% compared to the bottom 75%, this could be the same result. Conclusions: we notice that different metrics for the volume and intensity of load are encouraged. The player load and player load per minute, although popularly used, need to be further studied. The mean volume of jerk could be a good alternative because the player load was basically adapted from the jerk, but with some alterations that only turn that metric on an arbitrary unit metric. We see that the top 25% of jerk is substantially lower than the top 10% of jerk, suggesting that there is a high intermittency of the game. For future research, we intend to do this with a greater data size, with smaller time periods, with different metrics, comparing winners versus losers, high-ranked teams versus low-ranked teams, and throughout the competition instead of of a big tournament that it happens in a very short period of time. Thank you to all, and this is all.